going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Trade Talk. It's round 16, post buys, so we're back to 2 trades this week, so it'll be very interesting to see what coaches do. Hopefully you've got all your rookies off ground, but if you don't, you're obviously trying to get that final rookie or two off your field. So let's get stuck into the most traded in and out players of the week. So I'm really intrigued to see who coaches are trading into their sides post buys. So Elijah Hewitt sits at the top of the list, 6.2k coaches jumping on him. I think he's a pick of the rookies this week. I think he's the best rookie option for coaches to look at. He actually looked pretty good, I thought, even though West Coast obviously lost by so much. He showed some good signs. I know he only scored 47, but I think he's going to play for the foreseeable future in their side. And I think he's going to put up some 50s and stuff and make a little bit of coin. So I think he's my pick. So yeah, I do like that in. Josh Fay's there next at 3.1k. So it's interesting to see that only 2 players have been selected by over 3,000 coaches, showing just like the diversity of like what coaches are doing this week. So Fay's there. I'm not sure he's going to play because Isaac Cummings back will be back into the side, I'd imagine. Nick Haynes is not going to miss. He's fit, so he should play as well for them. So I don't see exactly how he gets in, really, unless he plays on a wing. But I know they've got like a Josh Kelly / Perryman on one wing, Finn Callahan on the other. So I don't see him playing. I guess it's just a placeholder for coaches just in seeing if there's a rookie being named. But hey, yeah, so we'll see if he gets named. Sam Doherty's the premium of choice this week. I'll talk about my trades after, but at the moment I'm looking at targeting him this week. Hawthorn's a good matchup, so you can get that sugar hit hopefully first up there. He's going to be a top 3 defender, averaging 106 in what's sort of seen as us. He's been a little bit down. Obviously, he had that injury earlier in the year, so I think that he is a good pickup. Obviously, had his bye last week. So what's his run coming up as well? I know he's got Hawthorn, but has he got anyone else? See, Freo I think they can be tricky. Port obviously are tough, but then his West Coast can also be a little bit tricky as well. So he hasn't really got the easiest run until he sort of hits this back end here. But until he hits the Collingwood matchup around 20, that's sort of when it gets a bit easier. But hey, I think Doherty can score well regardless of where he plays, so I'm happy paying up for him. Harry Himmelberg's here. Obviously, a few coaches were talking about him a couple of weeks ago before his bye. He had his bye. He's cheap, $570. I like the pick. I would just flag the fact that Nick Haynes is going to be fit and he'll be fine. Isaac Cummings back in the side. I know Whitfield's not playing, but you've got Ash, Cumming, Nick Haynes back there, and then you're also going to have Himmelberg potentially. So there's a lot of guys back there. I don't see him averaging much more than 90 if he can get there. So I still don't mind the pick. I just have a bit of a flag that I think he could move back forward. With Nick Haynes going to be fit and then coming back in as well, I just struggle to see how they're going to play all of these guys in defence. But hey, we'll see. I still like the pick if he's playing in defence, but I just would sort of put that bit of an asterisk on him. But he's good value if he plays in defence. So I like the pick if he's playing in defence. Marcus Bontempelli, if you can afford him, very, very good pickup. We know how good he's been this year, averaging 113. He scored 158 points in his final game before the bye. He's just been, again, I've mentioned this, he's been so good since, all year. He's only had 4 scores under 100, and they've all been 90s, but it's been since round 4. He's only gone once under 100. From rounds 8 onwards, he's only gone under 110 on one occasion, which was a 108. He's just been so consistent with his 110 to 120 scores, and obviously he can pop out a 150 every now and again, which we know he can do. So I do like him, regardless of fixtures. I think he's fixture-proof. He's so hard to tag as well, so if you can spend up $994k, I do like, because he's not going to be dropping down a heap in price quickly because he's just so consistent. So he'll likely be over $1 million this week if he can get probably a 110 or something. So which I imagine he is a decent chance of doing against Freo. Jack Sinclair, yeah, good option. He's been a good option through the bye. So if you still haven't jumped on, over 2,000 coaches are doing that. West Coast could get a good sugar hit this week. I like it. I know that West Coast don't necessarily give up a heap of points to defenders because the ball doesn't go back as much. But I think that he pushes up the ground. So I think he'll get involved regardless with the ball. So can't be a bit wonky there. Brad Crouch as well, similar thing. 2,000 coaches jumping on him. Sugar hit for the West Coast matchup. He's been really good, obviously, since his bye. But even the game before the bye, I still don't understand what happened between round 6 and 10. All these under 100 scores. But then in the last 4, he's a lowest of 109. He's just been really consistent. And I think he could put up a pretty good score this week. So at 880, I think he's still a little bit of value here. Break even at 86. He's obviously going to go up in price. I think he can be a top 8 midfielder. And at a bit of a lot cheaper price than what some of these other guys. So look at Bont. Bont's 114k more. So almost if you had the pick between the two, you'd almost rather Crouch at the moment. I know that Bont's been so good, so for the name you probably want Bont, but Crouch, Eagles this week, he's 114k cheap. If you need the value still, then I do like Crouch. So yeah, he's a great target this week. Angus Sheldrick, part of me says I can't really say for people to spend up, but I think he's still a very good option to spend up for because a negative 39 break even if he was average 50 to 60 over the next fortnight, he's still making well over 100k in those 2 weeks. So he's going to be near 500 in a fortnight. I think he's not locked himself into Sydney's 22, but I think that after being the rising star, he's definitely going to be playing this week, unless there's an injury or anything unforeseen there. But he'll play, and he could play for a few games in a row. I know Geelong's not super easy, but they're not sort of the restrictive team they have been in the past. And then Richmond, obviously, next week. So he could put up a couple of nice scores here. So if you don't have him, I still think it's fine to pay up for him. Hopefully you can get your upgrade on the other side of it. So maybe if you did like a Wilmot or someone down to Sheldrick, if you've got the DPP to make that happen, and then you can do someone up, then I do like something like that. Now, Elliot Yeo, obviously we're not trading him in because if you missed it last night, Elliot Yeo, it was announced that he's now going to be out for 3 to 4 weeks with a hip injury. So this guy just cannot take a trick, can he? I thought he was going to be a great option this week. I thought I was going to be talking about him in this video, and I was probably going to put him in my top 5 targets, but now he's been ruled out. So you can see he's going to be one of the most trade out players as well because coaches that have jumped on in rounds 15 and then started jumping on this round, and you have to trade him out. So, which is unfortunate because he looked really good last week. So, yeah. Darcy Cameron, still a great option. 1,500 coaches jumping on him. I like his ruck forwards. That, if I've mentioned for a few weeks now, it's not that he's fixture proof, but he just seems to find a way to score well. So, like, you look at these scores here. He got the 109 against West Coast in the easy matchup. He got 96 against Melbourne, which we think is a tough matchup. And he only had 13 hit-outs to do it. So, he's doing things around the ground to get his score. And then against Rob, who's not the easiest matchup, got a 106. So I think he can average about that 95-ish mark. Could push 100, but I think it's more realistic to be maybe 95 and be a good option as cover because, again, I've mentioned it before, if something happened to Marshall English, Cameron's good cover for them for a week, but if either of those two go down for a sustained period, you can put Cameron in your ruck line and you can go English or Marshall or whatever to a midfield forward or defender premium in another line. So I do like him, and I think I'd still prefer him over Ben Keys, who's next at 1,500 coach jumping on, but I do really like both, and I like Keys again this week. The role's there. I don't see it changing. Crows are playing well with him in the midfield. 78%, I believe it was on the weekend. I think he had 21 of 27 CBAs. 90 against Collingwood in a pretty restrictive team. Still had 29 touches. It was just he didn't have those marks and tackles that he necessarily probably got in the other games where he went over 100. So I do like him. North could put up a good score. Essendon as well. I think he's got a pretty nice next couple. Obviously, GWS can be a bit restrictive, and so can Melbourne and Port, but I still think Keys can get it done in multiple ways. So I do like him, and again, another guy that can push those top 6 forwards. I don't think Cameron or Keys will be top 6 forwards. I think that you've got your Tarantos, your Dunkleys, your Butters, Rosie, Cornelio, Goulden. There's so many of these guys here that could be top 6. Cameron and Keys, I think, push 90 to 100 and be serviceable at least for the next sort of 3-4 weeks to make a little bit of cash to then get those final sort of top 6 if you want, or whoever's got the best run. So I'd like both. I really do. Jordan Dawson, now 1.4k jumping on him. They haven't jumped on him yet. He's owned by nearly 60% of the comp. He's over $1 million now. Obviously 172, a career high score, and probably one of the best individual performances I've seen. He probably deserved to get the Crows over the line, how well he played. I think he will probably get the 3 votes on Brownlow, and at worst he'll get 2, because Dacos may get 3. But again, if you've got all your rookies off field, then yeah, I'd be happy to pay up for him. But again, it's probably got to come down to, if you've got a rookie left on field, I'd probably rather upgrade them to a Keys or a Cameron instead of going I don't know, could be a Young or a Lloyd or someone up to But then again, actually, if you think about it, Lloyd or Young are probably putting up sort of rookie-ish or a little bit just above rookie numbers, and Dawson's putting up 170. So maybe you could just do that anyway. But going to be team dependent, but I still love Dawson as an option if you can get up to him. Then you've got Harvey Harrison still. I don't even know if he'll keep his spot just because McCreary was a sub. You have Ginnivan, who was the emergency. I think he played VFL. So I don't see him being a long-term option. He's not going to be a huge scorer either, so I'd probably pass on him. If you haven't got Sheldrick, I'd get him. I'd get Elijah Hewitt over him. There's also like a Mullen. If he comes back for Geelong, I'd rather him over Harrison because I can see Mullen staying in the team longer than Harrison. But if he's named, he's not a bad option. Same with Jasper Fletcher. If he's named, he's not a bad option as well. But yeah, potentially I'd look at other players there. And we saw Will Day, who's not a bad option. I don't know if I'd bring him in, but hey, if you're keen, then he could be a solid option. Most traded out players will move to. So Bailey Humphrey, no surprise, most traded out over 10,000 coaches jumping off. It's the time to go. He hasn't had the role for a couple of weeks now. Put up a bad score on the weekend of 36. His break even shot up to, I believe it's 80. Yeah, so Collingwood this week, tough matchup. I think he's then got Port Adelaide in the next one after. So he hasn't got a couple of good games coming up. So it's time to go. It's a good price. You can get him up to. It's only going to cost you, I was going to say 60, it's only going to cost you 100k to get to Yo, but can't do that. But it's only going to cost you not even 200k to get to a Keys or a Cameron. If you want to go early on a Mills, he's only just over 100k more. I wouldn't get Mills this week, I'd wait a week, but it's easy to get him up. Or even a Himmelberg, it's only 25k to get that move, and I'd definitely do that move. So yeah, Humphrey's got to go. Will Ashcroft can go as well, over 4,000 coaches are jumping off him, but he does have the Tigers at the Gabba, and we know that he can score well at the Gabba. But again, 686k, it's not going to cost you much to get up. Less than 200k to get to a Brad Crouch. There's a lot of good options. I think Mills is actually cheaper than him now as well. I don't know if I'd do Ashcroft and Mills this week. I'd probably rather keep Ashcroft for one more week and then do that next week if Mills looks good. But yeah, Ashcroft can go. Obviously, it's post-buys. We don't need him necessarily. But again, if you've got a Wilmot or someone on field, I'd rather get rid of them first than Ashcroft. But hey, if you can get him up to a premium, that is a good move. Elliot Yeo, obviously, is one of the most traded because all the coaches jumped on him last week. There were a fair few as well. I've got to now get rid of him, unfortunately. He had a good Saints matchup as well, which really stings because I thought he could have put up a pretty big score this weekend. But unfortunately, coaches have got to jump off. It's sort of shouldn't come as a shock, unfortunately. Coaches that got into Yeo knew that this could happen. But I guess the silver lining is he put up a good score, made some good cash last week. I think he made about 40-odd K. Yeah, so you can get a better player on the end of it now. I know it sucks, you got a forced trade, but hopefully you've got all your rookies off field and he's your worst player and you can just go him up to, if you can get him up to a Dockett if you've got that cash there or something like that, or if you have a Dawson, you can get all the way up there, then I think that's a good move and get a better player. So, yep, he has to go. George Wardlaw, again, similar to these rookies, if he's on field for you, he can go. He can also even go down to a Hewitt, and you could go like a Humphrey up on field if you've got those two guys. So, yep, George Wardlaw can go. He's done his job. Rory Atkins, he was a sub last week. His break-even probably would have shot up yet at 88, so he dropped 27k. So, again, he can go. I'd be happy enough to trade him. Matt Rao was serviceable-ish through the buys. Didn't put up those scores that maybe owners would have wanted. Yeah, look at that. Through the buys, he got the 124 before buys, but 73, 86. So, yeah, looking at that, actually not really good enough. You paid up for him to get 95 plus in all those games. I know that he was in Darwin for a couple of these games, but then again, he got 124 in Darwin. So, to get a 73, then I know he got a little bit of attention, then an 80 and a 68. Not good enough, so he's got to go. I think he's dropped a fair bit in coin as well. I think he dropped about 60-odd-K. He was up near 850, 860. So, yep, he can go. It's easy to switch him. 80k, you get yourself a Brad Crouch. So that would be a good trade if you can make that happen. Jeremy Cameron, obviously, is going to be out this week. I feel sorry for those couple of coaches that did jump on. 7% owned, so a few coaches would have done that move. He's dropped a lot in coin. 627k, break even 149, a 32 and a -3. Obviously, -3, he got knocked out, so you can't really do much about that. But could be a play actually in a few weeks if you had an expensive rookie on your bench, going that rookie to Cameron and putting him on your bench is like a loophole. But that's obviously something that we can look at in a few weeks. But he will obviously be missing this week, so he's got to go. Filippo can go as well. He's done his job. He does have the West Coast matchup, so if you want to keep him for another week, what's his break even going to be? 71. It's not like he's going to make cash. It'd be if you had to play him on field. Maybe the West Coast matchup you could do, but I'd still be happy to trade. Same with the Jacob Van Rooyen. Wilmot, it's tricky with Wilmot because he's been really good and he's got the role. He's taking kickouts as well, but I think, again, if you can get him up to the guy you want on field, I still am fine trading him. 42 break even, he would have to be pumping out a few 80s and 90s to actually make a good amount of cash, and 75 on the weekend was actually his high score for the season, so it's not like he's going to make another 300k, he's going to make maybe 100k at best. So again, I'd be fine trading him if it gets the play you want. Campbell Chess is probably not worth enough to be trading, but hey, if that 90k or 50k maybe going down to a Mullen or someone can get you the upgrade you need, then you could trade. But I think I don't know if he'll stay in the side because he was a sub, but I don't know if I'd be trading. He could be good flexibility. If he doesn't play, could be a good loophole. So I wouldn't trade. Weddle can go as well. What did he have on the weekend? 47. I thought he would have put up a better score than that one, but he's at a good price, 513k, 6-7 break even. I think he can go. So you can see a lot of these rookies here are going for coaches. Obviously, the buyers, we don't need them necessarily anymore, so they can all go. Hayden Young, so he's obviously one that coaches are sick of. He does have the Bulldogs matchup, which would be very tempting to keep him for, because we saw he only put a 77 up against him early in the year. And then again, he doesn't. I know Jake from Hat Chat was saying about he doesn't actually get involved in the link-up play, so he could go, he can go. If you can get him up to a Doherty, I'd definitely be pulling that trade. Or again, any of those top-tier premium defenders, if you can make that happen, yeah, I'd be happy to trade even regardless of the matchup. Matt Johnson, however, I just saw him here. I was only going to go through the players that are over 1,000 for either trading or trade out. But Matt Johnson, I don't think I'd be trading. He's got a low break even of 20. Made a good amount of coin, 47k last week. Scored 290 plus scores in his last 3. But again, if you can get him up to a premium on field, I'd be happy to trade him. I know he's just a rookie at the end of the day. He's not like he's going to be making 200-300k and averaging 90-95. So I'd be happy to trade. If he's on your bench as well, it's not a bad play to go him down. But then again, you could hold him for an extra week to make a little bit more cash. But if he's on your field, he's your final rookie, and you can go like a Wilmot down, then a Johnson up to a premium, I'd be happy to do that, and I'd be happy to pull that trade because, yeah, at the end of the day, he's a rookie, and we saw not last week, the week before, he scored a 37, and he can get subbed out. So I'd be happy to trade, but just that is that flag that he can still make a bit more cash there. So yeah, that's a bit quicker actually than normal. I normally take the video normally goes for about half an hour, but yeah, we'll go through the top 5 targets. That'll be it. So top 5 targets for the week. Again, it's going to be very team dependent what you're looking for, because a lot of coaches are going to be looking for a midfielder or a defender or a forward. So I think at number 1, I think I would have Brad Crouch. I think that he's still at a good price at 880k. He's been really good the last month. I think he can be a top 8 midfielder, and for a guy that's priced under 900k that can be a top 8 mid. When you look at the guys like your Andrew Brayshaw, your Rory Lairds, Clayton Oliver, won't be back this week, but hopefully he's back next week, but he's still over 900k. Bont, even Tom Green, just trying to get Zach Merritt. I've probably forgot a couple of others, which I apologise to whoever I forgot there, but they're all over 900k, whereas Brad Crouch isn't. He will be over 900k likely this week or next week, so I still like him as an option. So he would be my favourite target if you haven't got anyone. I think number 2's probably got to be Sam Doherty. I just think that he's not owned by a lot of people. He's only 11.9%, but he's not owned by a lot of the top coaches because he was traded out by everyone when he got injured, and he's been back, but he had the bad buy around 15, so no one was really targeting him. But Hawthorn this week, I know he's got some tougher games to come in future games, but Doherty's fixture proof. He can score well against anyone. And yeah, he's going to be unique with the top, because he's going to be brought in by, obviously we've seen he's being brought in by a few coaches, but it's not going to be like he's going to be 100% owned by the top 100 or 1,000 in a week. He's probably not even going to reach maybe 40% owned in the top sort of 100 or 1,000, unless he's being brought in by a lot of the top coaches and not many of the outside. So if you can get Doc, I like him as a good pod, probably for a week or two, because then a lot of coaches are going to start moving on him, and then he's not going to be as much of a pod, but I like him at number 2. Number 3, probably would have been Elliot Yeo at this point, but obviously he's not there. So number 3, probably sliding in there, would be it's tough. Who would I have? Maybe if you don't have, I'll probably put Angus Sheldrick in here at number 3, just if you don't have him, because of such a low break. Even if you can afford him in your side, over the next 2-3 weeks, he can make 100, 150k, even not scoring well. But if he keeps putting up these 90s and 80 scores, and obviously was on the weekend hundreds, he can make a lot of coin. And there's not that many rookies now that are going to be making a lot of coin. So I'd have him at number 3. I know a lot of coaches have got him, But if you don't have him, like nearly 2,000 coaches jumping on, I would jump on him. So I'd have him at number 3. Number 4 is probably where I'm just trying to think. So the matchups this week. So like North Melbourne. Because it doesn't necessarily have to be the most traded in players. It could be guys that are just good options that I hadn't spoken about. So you've got a guy like a Rory Laird who's got North again. He was solid last week. Had a good last quarter to get that 111, but he's obviously a great option there. Just trying to think of like the matchups. That's probably where I might put a Darcy Cameron / Ben Keys here, whichever one you don't have. I like both. I'd probably have Darcy Cameron at 4, and then I'd probably slide Ben Keys at 5. Just because I think both present really good value. The roles there for Keys, the roles there for Cameron. They can push sort of top 6 forward numbers, and at cheap prices. At worst case, they're going to make you cash. You can move them on to a Cornelio or someone like that later. But I do like both. To bring in this week. So Cameron at 4, Keys at 5, but I also do like if Jack Steele can push that game time up and look better this week, I do like him. Probably as an option next week, depending on how he looks. You can launch into him. I'd just be a bit nervous with that knee injury. I probably wouldn't do it this week. Same with Callum Mills. I'd want to watch another week from these two before launching in. I know I'm a Jack Steele owner, so I'm hoping he goes well anyway, but I'd want to wait. Luke Ryan I really like as an option as well. He could almost sneak in that top 5 for me, just as maybe it's a 1 week play if you've got your rookies off. He's got the Bulldogs this week. This is a sort of game where Luke Ryan could go bananas. He went 1-9-10 against the Dogs early in the year. He went a 143 last week. It's in these easy games he can go huge. Like look at the St Kilda game here. Like he getting like North Melbourne here as well. Like the games where he goes huge are good matchups. Essendon. So Luke Ryan also really do likes the target as well. He's 802, so not a bad price. If he goes huge, he can actually make cash for you and be maybe an easier avenue to go get a Doherty the week after or something like that. So I do like Luke Ryan as well. He'd be pretty close to my top 5 actually. Sneaking in there. Petrarca without Oliver now again could be a solid option. He'll be pretty much a top 8 mid if not very, very close. Duncan's underpriced. I'm not huge on Duncan, but if you can, what's Liam Henry's break-even as well actually after that huge score? 17, 510k. I probably wouldn't do it, but there you go. They're probably good options. And Paddy Cripps would be one I keep an eye on. He's pretty cheap, so maybe watch another week to see how he goes. But he's got Hawks this week, could put up good numbers. And Andrew Brayshaw as well gets it done against anyone. So he's a good option. Well, just under 500 coaches still trying to bring in Taranto at 1.1 million. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Some coaches are paying that much for him. But hey, some coaches don't have him, they want him. So yeah, there you go. They're the top 5 targets and some good targets. My trades this week at this stage, I'm looking at going a Darcy Wilmot down to a Mullen, who I don't have yet. I need a defender rookie to go Wilmot down. And I think Mullen should come back in. He played VFL last week. The Cats do like him, so I think he could come back in. And then my upgrade will be, I'll be going Bailey Humphrey through a bit of DPP, putting a Dunkley back in my forward line, putting not Dawson, Will Day into my midfield, and I'll be going Humphrey up to Sam Doherty at this stage. I've got about 5k left, I think it is, with trades. So they're the trades I'm looking at. If I want to get Hewitt, I'd have to go like a Johnson down, and unless a Sheldrick went bananas, then I could do that trade. But then again, I've probably got to make the Wilmot trade, obviously, before that game. So I'd have to do that trade first. So at the moment, it'll be Wilmot down and Humphrey up to Doherty. So that's what I'm looking at. Hilberg's also a play if I want. I'm not huge on grabbing Mills this week. I want to wait a week. Cogs is another one I really like as well. 850-odd K. Melbourne this week. Solid matchup, and I think he'd be a top 6 forward. So again, he's one, but Doherty's my main target this week. So that's what I'm looking at doing. So anyway, that'll be it for the trade talk. So let me know in the comments below what you guys are doing with your moves this week. Let me know any questions, or put in the comments below any questions you guys have in regards to trades or anything like that. I'll get to those when I can and answer all those as usual. But appreciate you guys tuning in to Trade Talk as always. It is the most popular video on the channel, so I really do appreciate all the support you guys show on it. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you do leave a like. I think we've hit 50 likes in the past couple of Trade Talks. So if we can hit 50 likes again on this video, that'd be very much appreciated. So make sure you do give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're only 9 subscribers away from 1,200. So if you can help me reach that goal, that'd be very, very much appreciated. Also, make sure you turn notifications on so you don't miss when I go live or upload any other content on the channel. We'll be live Friday night for the pre-lockout Twitter space. We and Tim Guest, as always, on the AFL Fantasy Fanatics, just chatting and answering all your questions before lockout. But yeah, besides that Twitter space, obviously we'll have watch-alongs definitely on the Saturday. I'll let people know if I go live Thursday or Friday night for a watch-along, so make sure you are following all my social media links in the description below. So anyway, until the next video on Friday afternoon, I'll catch you guys then. So I'm out. Cheers.